Now, let me just, before we get into Saudi Arabia and then eugenics, because that's the main reason I have Webster here in the limited time, I want to ask Webster separately. We're hearing a lot of propaganda about the economy. You're an economist, author, historian, who's really proven that you're a great political and economic mind out there. I really respect you, and I don't say that for many guests. Folks know I'm really singling somebody out that I really have come to admire even more than I did a few years ago with his foresight and research. But they're saying green shoots, everything's wonderful, the economy's great. Meanwhile, jobless soaring, home sales plunging, every major indicator falling apart, even their cooked books. The Chinese and others aren't buying U.S. treasuries. They're slowing down their purchase. The globalists are monetizing debt. Is this another suckers rally like 2 years ago telling us everything's wonderful? And are they so panicked they're moving into saying everything's fine now because they've over fear-mongered and they believe they've lost control? Or is everything really peachy keen? Or are we getting a window into the truth with the Wall Street Journal and CNBC reporting Geithner screaming, cussing, fights, panicking behind the scenes as he bullwhips the Fed chairman and others into following his policies? What is really going on, Webster Tarpley?
Well, it fits right into what Ted Anderson was saying. The main danger now is hyperinflation, and we may be in the early phases of hyperinflation. I'm not quite prepared to say that this is it, but the straws in the wind are multiplying. Now, hyperinflation would mean that you get up to the Dow 15,000 and 20,000, and indeed Dow 35,000. Why not? Except those dollars are going to be converging on worthless. And if you look at the hyperinflation picture, the basic underlying dynamic is you've got this huge dollar overhang. $4 to $5 trillion are out there as euro dollars, Chinese-owned dollars, or treasury securities. This is basically the same thing. Same for Japan, Russia, European Union, Saudi Arabia, that I'll get to in a minute. All of these countries have huge amounts of dollars. The situation is extremely unstable. Any kind of military event, a military defeat for the U.S., something shocking, unpredicted. It used to be back in the in the day that if the president had a health problem, that could also have a tremendous effect on these markets, and could again today if it turns out that Obama.
Why is Obama's plunging approval rating making the stock market go up?
No, I don't. I think this is separate. In other words, what you've got is what Obama has done or presided over is the $24 trillion being pumped in. Now that's a credit line. It doesn't mean it's all out there, but it's all in danger of coming out. So $24 trillion for Wall Street, maybe $300 billion for the average person for infrastructure. So now we've got the bankers defeating the people under Obama by 80 to 1. But at the same time, real production is collapsing. You look at U.S. industrial production, it continues to fall. World trade is down 40% from where it was around the middle of last year. So this means now that you've got fewer and fewer goods, fewer and fewer commodities being chased by this huge tidal wave of money. Now that's gone into the stock market. Look, the stock market has gone way up. The S&P went over 1,000 yesterday. The NASDAQ is over 2,000. But at the same time, the hyperinflation indicators look bad, right? The dollar is now 144 against the euro. The dollar has had some really bad days on the euro. As Ted was saying, treasuries had a very bad day yesterday. So it means the prices are falling on these treasuries, meaning the interest rates are going up. You got oil at 71, gold up 8, as he says. Commodities generally beginning to tick up. So this could very well be the early phase of a hyperinflationary bubble. So
okay, well, why are they fighting? Because Geithner reportedly screaming at them, cussing, saying, you've got to get behind me and the president's policies, and then they're saying, look out for inflation. So is that what the internal fight is over, or what's your intel on that, Webster?
I think this is it's just a quarrel among thieves. In other words, there are all kinds of frictions there. There is the question of the regulatory role of the Federal Reserve, believe it or not, where Bernanke does not want to do certain things that Geithner wants him to do. The egos get involved. I don't think this is a huge matter, but the Federal Reserve has actually come under heavy attack for the strong-arming of Bank of America on the absorption of Merrill Lynch and a few other issues. So there's a lot of bad against the Fed in Congress on these sort of secondary issues. Of course, that can then be parlayed into the nationalization of the Fed, which is what I would recommend. So you've also got to remember that Geithner is an unstable little thug, right? He's a foul-mouthed character, right? He's from the Rahm Emanuel school.
The Wall Street Journal and the Street are reporting that it was all these top regulators, SEC chairman Ben Bernanke, and that he was screaming and yelling almost like Hitler, just going completely wild, frothing. And it said that this, seemed to shake up a bit Bernanke, the former boss of Geithner. So this looks like all is not well in Camelot, as this air of invincibility, this Mount Olympus godlikeness of these bankers evaporates. I think they're feeling the heat with the End the Fed movement or the Audit the Fed movement.
Well, I think they've also got very severe international problems. In other words, Geithner had to spend the first part of the week kowtowing to the Chinese, who are his bosses. So he had to lick the boots of the visiting delegation from Beijing and assure them that he was responsible after all. But let's get to Saudi Arabia, because it may be Saudi Arabia that's getting him to do this.
All right, well, let's cover that in the next short segment. In the last 30 minutes, you've now gotten the book. You've scanned over it. The Eugenicist Master Plan. Stay with us.
Are you tired of losing your hard-earned savings in retirement? Does the continued loss of purchasing power through the hidden tax of inflation brought on by trillions of dollars in government bailouts bother you? Then please let me, Dwayne Daly with Midas Resources, help you to protect what you have left. Call me at 800-686-2237 extension 115, and I will explain to you how to retain your wealth and purchasing power now and in the future with gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a form of currency for 6,000 years compared to our present fiat currency, which has only been in existence for 38 years and failing fast. Call me, Dwayne Daly, at 800-686-2237 extension 115 to start your protection of wealth today. I will custom fit the protection package to your personal needs. No amount is too small, so start today. Call Dwayne Daly with Midas Resources at 800-686-2237 extension 115 for your gold and silver protection portfolio.
You know, I've never given Tarpley his true title, Dr. Tarpley, PhD in history. We should have him on in a few weeks for a whole hour, 2 hours, just on Venetian history, how it came out of the Eastern Roman Empire, from the splitting of the empire, the Eastern Empire, because from my primitive understanding of it, so much of the New World Order management system comes out of that Venetian school. And I was asking Dr. Tarpley during the break, he said that was true in a general sense. So we'll have him on about that, because knowing history, if you don't know history, it's like you were born yesterday. I was told Howard Zinn said that. Okay, Webster, quickly in this short segment, because you're here about eugenics today. Okay, so that's the main reason you've gotten this book. You've researched it, eco-science. But you've got big breaking news in Saudi Arabia.
But if you want to know why would Geithner freak out? Now, here's the story. Yesterday, there were straws in the wind. There were reports from somewhat obscure publications in Pakistan and in Iran. It was actually Press TV, so that was the Iranian government, and then an Arab website which has British connections, and they're saying that Prince Bandar of Saudi Arabia, people remember him, that's Bandar Bush. He was the ambassador of Saudi Arabia to the United States for about 10 years. He had since gone back to Saudi Arabia and become the head of the National Security Council. That he's allegedly under house arrest for having a coup d'etat, for somehow attempting to interfere in the succession. Bandar is the son of the crown prince. In other words, the person who should succeed to the throne of Saudi Arabia when the current king is no longer there would be Bandar's father, so that would put him in an important position. Now, on the surface, and this is what I originally thought, you'd say, well, Bandar Bush, right, that's a CIA MI6 asset, so it looks like there was an attempted coup d'etat by the U.S. and the British in Saudi Arabia, right? You could expect something like that once they were trying to overthrow the government of Iran. But there's a whole other dimension to this, which has been brought to my attention by a very good friend, which is that Bandar may have gone pro-Russian, that Bandar had been signing deals, meeting with Putin, setting up military cooperation between Saudi Arabia and Russia, that they had a joint treaty to suppress drug trafficking. And if you look at the website of the Jamestown Foundation, they speculate that there's some move afoot featuring Bandar to essentially reverse the alliances that Saudi Arabia has had since Roosevelt went through there right after Yalta, right back in 1945, to break out of the Anglo-American sphere and go with the Russians. Now, it would make a lot of sense. The Saudi Arabian royal family are people who want to survive. They know that their situation is bad. They can see what Obama means for them. Obama means color revolutions. The question of when are you going to get the color revolution and the coup and the velvet revolution inside Saudi Arabia is really only a question of time, especially with Iran.
All right, Tarpley, I was unaware of this. So give me a headline so I can pull it up and talk to me like I'm 5 years old here.
I have sent some of that stuff to Aaron's email there.